On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we are going to review The Boy and the Heron, the new Hayao Miyazaki Studio Ghibli film. We will start off spoiler-free, and then we'll warn you before we dive into our spoiler-filled discussion. If you want to jump straight to that review, use those time codes down in the description. But beforehand, we're going to write some news from the week in the world of entertainment and discuss that. Holden, what are some of our stories this week?
So some of the things we're going to be talking about is a trailer for Orion in the Dark. We're going to be talking about some Disney Plus show updates for the next year. Also talk about the Game Awards a bit and what happened at that.
All right, sweet. Again, if you want to jump to those discussions as well, check out those time codes in the description. Otherwise, we'd love to have you for the whole show. I'm Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for Tom.
Tom.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
All right, Jimmy, before we talk The Boy and the Heron, let's do some toms.
Let's do the toms, which I need to grab.
Yeah.
Here we go.
The Toms. Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of three famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between. Jimmy, let's get to it.
That was kind of fun running in from off screen.
That was kind of fun.
It
That added a little variety. And honestly, I don't think it really ruined the intro that much.
No, I think it added it to it for the visual. The video audience.
I think what we should do is every week I should hide them somewhere in your apartment, and then you have to search it by the time I'm done with my very short intro.
Yes, each segment I should emerge from beneath the table or something. Or I have
come
to
up
come
with something. Interesting.
Wires.
Yeah. But anyway, as far as news, Jimmy, first up we have a trailer for Orion in the Dark. This is a new animated movie by DreamWorks. It's going to be released on Netflix, I believe, in March. And the reason I wanted to just bring it up was because I found it interesting that Charlie Kaufman is writing it, who, if you're unfamiliar with, he did I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which neither of us really liked, but he's made a lot of other movies, or written a lot of other movies like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Anomalisa, Being John Malkovich, a lot of movies I really quite enjoy. So what do you think of this trailer?
I mean, it's cute. It's like, oh, you're afraid of the dark, so then we're gonna go be buddies now.
Yeah.
It's a little bit Monsters Inc. vibe of you're scared of the monsters, but now you're gonna befriend the monster. But obviously our main kind of human character is older than what's her name? Boo in Monsters Inc. So it's an interesting thing. I think it has the potential to be a cute movie coming out in February. Still haven't seen that Adam Sandler one, the Leo or whatever.
Yeah, apparently that's pretty good. So
I'm gonna go with the Bergeron Holden because it looks nice and maybe generic a little bit, but somewhat creative.
If nothing else, the style's a bit interesting. Yeah. It has a unique art style. I thought it was based off of a book, but right before recording here, I double checked that, and I don't think it actually is. So
I think it is.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, wherever I checked, I guess. Didn't say it wasn't, just didn't mention it.
I think it said it's based on the book.
It could be.
Where did I see? I thought it was in when I watched the YouTube trailer.
Does it say down in the description there? Oh yeah.
Bring the award-winning children's book Orion.
Oh, okay. So it is. So I wonder if that art
adventure.
I wonder if that art style is taken from the book or whatever. But yeah, the guy who plays Dark is not Seth Rogen, even though I thought it was at first.
I definitely thought it was too.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but it's someone.
Tremblay?
No,
right?
Jacob Tremblay would be the kid.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. It looks fun. We probably won't talk about it for the podcast, but it's just something to bring up because I thought it looked interesting. I might watch it depending on kind of how it's received. But yeah, interesting movie.
Yeah. Was that a Bergeron?
Oh, yeah. I'll give it a Bergeron.
Wow. There we go.
Perfect.
Next story Holden this week.
Yeah. So Disney Plus, they had announced.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, never heard of it. They announced their kind of big shows for the next year in terms of the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. So Marvel, they confirmed the shows coming out next year are going to be Echo, Agatha Darkhold Diaries, and X-Men 97, which is the animated continuation of the 90s X-Men series that was announced like years ago. And then for Star Wars, it's going to be The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. And apparently it's looking like Andor is going to be like 2025.
No.
Because partially due to the strikes, but also I think they want to they have these shows more farther along and they want to give them room to breathe, I guess. So disappointing.
Yeah, I gotta give Agatha Darkhold Diaries room to breathe.
Yeah, I gotta really simmer on that one. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing because I mean, I was prepping I'd already kind of been looking at my anticipated of the year list for next year, and now I probably have to take Andor off that, unfortunately.
Yeah. I am excited for The Acolyte and Echo, I guess. Echo from the Marvel shows, I guess, would be the one I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
Although 1997 was a very good year because it was the year I was born.
Sure.
And then The Acolyte, since it's like the High Republic thing. Although Skeleton Crew, that's the one by the what's their name?
Daniels.
Daniels. I was gonna say the Davids. I'm like, that's not right.
That's right. I forgot about that.
They of course did Everything Everywhere All at Once and Swiss Army Man, which we reviewed both of which on this podcast. So go check out those
fans.
Go check out those episodes. But yeah, no, I kind of just in the middle on all of these. I don't really care. You pushed back Andor. I'm not excited about that. If I have to wait longer for Andor simply because of these other things coming out, that's a bombadil for me.
Yeah, that's true.
If Andor is just straight up not done, then whatever. But if it is because of literally these other shows, it's a bombadil.
Out of all of these, I would say, I'm probably most interested in Echo purely because of that really good trailer that came out about it, which, it probably would have been bottom of this list before that trailer, honestly. Star Wars wise, probably The Acolyte just because it sounds the most interesting, but we'll see. Star Wars, I mean, both have been very hit or miss. So
can Acolyte reel in the accolades?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, there we go.
It's got the guy from Squid Game in it. I don't know. I can't remember anything else about it.
Which guy from Squid Game?
I think the main guy.
The main guy. Wow.
Yeah.
Made Squid Game Man.
Squid Game Man.
As his character is known as.
But yeah, I think I'm kind of with you. If Andor's getting pushed back because of these, it's a bombadil.
There we go.
Otherwise, it's probably a Bergeron.
Stick it to Robert Iger.
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy, I don't remember if we had talked about this before, but they are developing a Spider-Man Noir TV series at Amazon Prime.
We did talk about
this. I couldn't remember. But they announced this week that the Punisher showrunner Steve Lightfoot, as well as Spider-Man Noir comic writer Orion Uziel, I can't remember. I don't know how you say his last name, will co-showrun the series.
Co-showrun.
Yeah.
Cool. I never saw The Punisher.
Punisher was good.
I've never read Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like, that'd be the person to get for a comic series, right?
I suppose if it's good. I don't know. I'm not super interested in this unless it's very, very good. So I'm at a Bergeron, Holden.
Yeah. It could be interesting. I think Spider-Man Noir, like out of all the various Spider-Man kind of like Spider-Verse variants that you could go with, I guess it's probably one of the more interesting because it's like the black and white, obviously literally a noir type set in like the 30s or 40s or whatever. Could be interesting.
Do we know if this is connected to the Spider-Verse movies?
No, I was specifically reading that it was unclear about that. Okay. So who knows if it's that way. But it is live action from what I can tell. So yeah, I don't know. Let's go Bergeron on that.
That's where I was at too.
Sweet. Yeah. Sounds good. Other superhero news, Jimmy. Sean Gunn, believe it or not, has been cast in a James Gunn movie.
Incredible.
As Maxwell Lord, who is the character in Wonder Woman 1984, who Pedro Pascal played.
Oh, wow.
So...
Wow, I cannot wait to give out my fourth Bergeron of the podcast already.
Yeah, it's a very Bergeron podcast.
It's a very Bergeron podcast today, yeah. Hopefully we're not coming across Bergeron. Hopefully we're still at our Brokaw levels.
Yes. Dune Messiah, Jimmy. This is the proposed third Dune movie from Denis Villeneuve. He says that the script is almost done, although he wants to take a break and do something else in between Dune Part 2 and a potential third movie.
Well, isn't there like a big like time?
Yeah,
span
so I
between
think
the
that like
second,
makes
third?
sense.
Anyway.
Let the characters age up a few years, right?
So I'll go Brokaw. Why not? Let's liven it up, even though Dune Part 2 hasn't even come out yet.
Well, I'm going to give it a Brokaw on the reasoning that I just want to see more from him. So him doing something new other than Dune would be cool. Mm-hmm. Even though, if assuming Dune Part 2 is good, I would love to see a third one. Next up, A24 movies are going to start streaming exclusively on HBO Max, or Max rather, Jimmy.
The one to watch.
The one to watch. It's going to start with new releases like Priscilla and Dream Scenario, and old titles are going to start being added as well. I just think that's nice because there's a lot of movies I feel like that kind of slipped through the cracks, like Priscilla and stuff that I'd like to watch, probably Dream Scenario as well, and now it's going to be in a convenient place that I have.
Yes. Are they? This is not like a day and date thing. I'm assuming
this is
that
like when
A24 will have like a 90-day theatrical window or something.
Yeah, I didn't. It's probably 90 days. I didn't see the exact amount of time, but it's going to be that. It's just like when they go to streaming, they're going to be on Max.
Yeah,
so
I agree. It's about time HBO gets some quality content. I would say.
Right. Getting rid of a bunch of other stuff,
and now you don't have to worry. Like now, that would be a reason to have Max too.
Yeah,
when nothing is coming out. Like between seasons of House of the Dragon.
Yeah, now that Succession's done.
And the Hedge Knight, Game of Thrones. What's the whole thing? A Game of Thrones.
A Game of Thrones, Mad Max Saga.
The Hedge
Knight.
Something, I don't know.
Dunkin' Egg.
Brokaw.
Yeah, I'll give it a Brokaw too. And final piece of movie
news. A Knight of the Seven... Game of Thrones, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight.
That's what
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, you're right.
That's going to be a trivia question someday.
Final piece of movie news is just that The Marvels is officially the lowest grossing Marvel movie of all time at around $200 million, Jimmy.
Wow. Imagine only having $200 million.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
That is embarrassing. It is, unfortunate because it is far from the worst Marvel movie, but it is also just like not great enough to, reinvigorate people's waning interest.
What is the worst Marvel movie, Holden? MCU movie.
Is
this MCU movie or Marvel?
Oh,
movie?
sorry. Yeah, MCU movie. Okay. Yeah, there's probably, I would guess like Howard the Duck probably grossed less than this. I don't know. But yeah, my least favorite one is probably. Granted, I haven't seen it in a long time. This is like my go-to answer all the time. It's just Thor: The Dark World. It's probably my least favorite.
I haven't seen Thor 1 or 2.
Thor 1, I remember being better when I watched it a couple years ago than I remembered. But yeah, I don't know. I like people who say the Eternals. I'm like, I don't understand that. I just feel like Thor: The Dark World is the most bland Marvel movie possible and has very little going for it. So
there we go. You heard it here first. Thor: The Dark World is officially the worst MCU
officially
movie.
The worst from That One Movie podcast. A movie that Jimmy hasn't seen.
Yeah, a movie that I haven't seen, but I will judge vicariously through Holden. I don't know. Bergeron. Disney didn't make a bunch of money on this movie.
Movies.
Disney
they made a bunch of movies. Didn't make a
did.
bunch of money this year.
No.
Bergeron. That's it for movie
Can't
news,
wait
though,
for
this
them
week.
to take all the correct lessons from it.
Yeah, right. Having more executives on set or whatever that was.
Yeah.
But now we're going to move on to TOMP this week, Jimmy. That one gaming podcast that we do very occasionally whenever there's just something vaguely interesting to talk about in the world of gaming for us. And this week, the Game Awards happened. So quickly, I'll just go over like a couple of the big winners. We won't go through everything.
Spider-Man 2 got snubbed, Holden.
Completely, yeah.
I think it had from everything.
It had like 7 or 8 nominations. It didn't win anything. Which is crazy.
That's fine, I think.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. What a surprise. That's kind of what I figured everyone thought would win. Alan Wake 2 won Best Narrative, which I still really want to play. Best Performance, also Yuri Lowenthal missed out on that. It went to one of the Baldur's Gate people. Best VR AR game went to Village, Jimmy.
There we go.
So it's a game you still haven't beat.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 didn't even win Best Action Adventure Game. That went to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Imagine losing to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, a very well-regarded game. Best Action Game, which I think that's weird that there's like two different categories between those two, was Armored Core 6, which I think was its only nomination and it won. Best Role-Playing Game went to Baldur's Gate. Best Family Game went to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I feel like there was another... Oh, Best Adaptation, I wanted to bring up Last of Us 1.
The TV series.
Yeah. So, it was against the new Castlevania show, Gran Turismo, Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Twisted Metal. And I would say it's the best out of those.
Yeah.
Me. So, and the most anticipated game is the game I'm also most anticipated for, which is the new Final Fantasy VII game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But yeah, those were kind of just the notable ones. It wasn't too surprising overall. It was a lot of Alan Wake and Baldur's Gate winning. So makes sense.
Cool. Great. I don't really care about that. Bergeron. I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3 or Alan Wake 2, so
Yeah.
couldn't really relate to any of these things. Happy
wanna
for the
play
people who enjoyed that.
Yeah, I want to play Alan Wake 2 really bad. But yeah, I'll give it overall a Bergeron for me. Then I wanted to go over some of the notable announcements, kind of one of the bigger ones, at least for us, being God of War Ragnarok DLC, the Valhalla. Did you watch the trailer for
God
it?
of War Ragnarok Valhalla, yes.
Yes.
So it seems like it's a roguelike thing, but then it also seems to have like its story with it.
Yeah, it's kind of doing so. Returnal did this too, where it was like later on they had a roguelike update for the. I mean, the whole game's a roguelike, but they had like
wait a second.
I mean, it was like this kind of like I think I describe it as like this wave-based survival kind of thing that was added, like a separate kind of game mode within the game world for Returnal. And it not only is this kind of extra game mode, but it also expands on the story and everything. So it is like, if you like Returnal, you should play that as well. It feels like that. So it's like an epilogue of sorts to Ragnarok, I guess. So it is going to have more story in it.
It's free and it comes out in like 2 days.
Yeah, I think
which
it's
is
the 12th.
absurd.
Today's
Yeah.
the 10th. So yeah, that is crazy. It's just free for everyone. Yeah, I don't know. It seems cool. I like roguelike modes. I think they're kind of fun. I mean, obviously we're getting that with The Last of Us 2 remastered as well. But this one, it looks like it's roguelike. They're adding some new enemies. It was like alluded to that there might be like enemies coming back from like the old games too.
Yeah, they brought back the original soundtrack of the,
really?
of the original games. Yeah, the boom 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 boom.
Oh, I guess I haven't played the original, so I didn't pick up on that. But yeah, I don't know. That seems like a really kind of fun way to do this like epilogue for Ragnarok, I guess. I want to play it, but I feel like I would need to replay the whole game to play it because it's been so long. I don't really want to just
Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok. I'm not sure I want to go back and just play this.
Are you sure? I'm just gonna go back and just play this. I think. Although
you should let me know how it is.
Although it would be weird to do survival waves when you haven't played the game in a long time.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of what I was
terrible
thinking.
at it.
It would. The learning curve would probably be a lot higher.
Okay, what a drop near spear? Can we do again?
Exactly.
What's my light runic attack for my blades of chaos?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty cool though, and that it's free. I think it has to be a bro
A
cog,
free roguelike story expansion DLC that drops like a week after they announced it.
Yeah,
Bro cog.
pretty cool. Somehow they kept that on the DL too, and I don't think there was really any rumors of that.
There were rumors that there was going to be God of War DLC announced at the Game Awards.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't see that.
Yeah, Holden
Jimmy's more
lives
in the
under
know
a
on
rock.
that. Other things, Jimmy. OD is the new Hideo Kojima game that isn't Death Stranding 2. It's
Xbox exclusive.
Xbox exclusive.
What the
Yeah,
heck, Hideo?
I guess. Yeah. It's a collaboration between him and Jordan Peele, which is interesting. Did you watch the trailer for it?
Yeah, it's just absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
People looking into their Iron Man suits.
yeah, just reciting something and then screaming at the end. Very cryptic, as I would expect from his typical trailers. But the actors in it are Sophia Lillis, Hunter Schafer, and Udo Kier. So that's interesting. I guess they'll be in the game.
But can you pee and move boxes? That's the question.
I don't know. Probably not. I would guess not. It's seems to be it's going to be like more of a horror-based game, which makes sense with the collaboration with Jordan Peele and everything. But other than that, we don't really know much. I don't know. There's not much to say other than it was just like a very weird announcement.
I'm disappointed that it's Xbox exclusive, but
Yeah.
Bergeron for me because there's literally nothing to talk about. There's
just
nothing to chew on.
Cryptic. Well, yeah, Xbox kind of had a banger time at the Game Awards in terms of announcements because it was announced.
Starfield just raked in all the awards.
Yeah, they raked in all.
They didn't.
I don't think Xbox got anything. I mean, I think Starfield would have
Did
been the only
Starfield
thing.
get it nominated for very much?
I feel like it was only nominated for. I don't have it pulled up anymore. I think it was RPG maybe, which Baldur's Gate took. So, anyway, Blade, a new Marvel Blade game was announced, developed by Arcane Lion, which is the developer Leon or whatever.
It's in France.
Oh, is it? Okay, so it's
Yeah.
probably that. But it's the developer behind Dishonored and Deathloop. And it's going to be, it's Arcane, so they're owned by Bethesda, which makes me, it didn't confirm it was Xbox exclusive, but it probably is, I would guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Although Deathloop wasn't.
Yeah, but that was in development. That was like a deal prior to that, like Microsoft acquiring Bethesda. Well, that was the same thing with Ghostwire Tokyo, because technically that's owned by Bethesda as well. Yeah, it's apparently going to be a first-person action-adventure game, starring Blade. It's going to be M-rated violence, done by the Deathloop and Dishonored people.
Never played Dishonored. Did play Deathloop, which was all right.
Sure. I haven't played it yet.
Yeah,
I own it. I have not played it yet.
I mean, it's fun, but I felt like there was... Deathloop was one of those games where it's like you're supposed to... It's like the roguelike thing where you're supposed to get better each time. But I felt like I was pretty much maxed out like the third time. So it was just me like kind of checking all these boxes to get to the end.
Sure.
And you can be more creative with it, but it felt like it was like, okay, let's do a roguelike Hitman thing with this kind of really cool world and all these different things you can do. But I didn't feel like it really lived up to those things, or I would go and explore, and I didn't feel like I was really rewarded for exploring. Because like I said, I was like, I had all my weapons that I wanted, like right away, pretty much, after like a few hours, or not, probably like, I don't know how long the game took me, but I think like a third of the way in, I was pretty much set, or maybe halfway in.
Okay.
Which, if you're a roguelike game,
then there's not much to build to.
No, and like I can go explore, but you kind of already plotted out what I need to do.
Sure.
Or like there's a very simple way of doing this, and you kind of have to go really far out of your way to do something fun. Where I don't know. It didn't feel as rewarding as like a Hitman game does, for like going around and hearing about different things and kind of brainstorming different things you could do to achieve this goal. So I don't know. The world was cool and the ideas were cool.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I don't know. Again, the trailer doesn't give us that much. It is interesting that it's Arcane Leon. So Bergeron. I don't know. I also just don't know anything about Blade other than he's a vampire hunter.
Yeah,
and he's not
himself.
And he's not Abraham Lincoln.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, I think it's Blade kind of fits in line with like the Dishonored kind of stuff to me. And they're a studio that a lot of people like their games, so it's not the art. I think it's different from the Arcane that developed Redfall earlier this year that was apparently very bad. So, yeah, we'll see. But it is Xbox, and I don't have an Xbox. So, Bergeron.
Yeah, they're $350 though right now. Series X.
Still won't buy one. Personally. Other things, Jimmy, I wanted to just briefly mention. They shut off more stuff for the Final Fantasy VII remake.
I did not watch any of that.
That's fine.
I knew it happened.
Yeah, I figured you probably didn't. It looks good. I mean, it's fun because right now I'm playing the original and I'm like in this part of the game right now. So kind of seeing this stuff immediately after like playing it remade in HD and new graphics and everything. It's really fun. But yeah, looks great. I'm really curious to see how the story differs because it was kind of, going in a different direction in that first part and seems to be continuing that in this as well. Yeah, I don't know. Looks great. Very excited for it. But other things that we don't have to talk about for very long, just mention quick. There's a new Monster Hunter game announced. I think it was called Monster Hunter Wilds. So I know that those games have a pretty big fan base. Never tried one myself.
We did see that movie though, and we reviewed it on this podcast.
It.
Was that the beginning of 2022?
No.
2021?
I think so.
I don't remember. That was a blur.
What a great movie.
What a movie that definitely came out and exists.
Other things though, Light No Fire was kind of interesting. It's a multiplayer game by the creators of No Man's Sky.
Okay.
And it was like it was notable because it was one of the only trailers that actually had gameplay shown because so many of these trailers were just like cinematics or whatever. It's probably not anything I would play just because it is a big multiplayer game, but it looked very creative. It was procedurally generated like No Man's Sky, but looked like big servers, lots of kind of survival RPG fantasy stuff going on. So looked cool. So if you're into that. Jurassic Park Survival, which is a new Jurassic Park horror action game thing, which only had cinematics. So it was really kind of hard to get a read on exactly what it was. People were saying it was like Alien Isolation with dinosaurs, but we didn't see any actual gameplay. So whether that or not that's true is to be seen.
I thought it was like pretty funny that like in the 2-minute trailer they did like all the Jurassic Park things.
Yeah, it was like just a greatest hits.
Yeah, like
of the movie.
The raptors and the water shaking and I don't even like just all the different places in the going into the kitchen and I just remember watching it and being like, oh, the gate, the T-Rex, the rain on the T-Rex, the little thing that squirts the ink, kind of looking at you. It was like everything that people enjoy from that first movie, just in 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. I thought it was almost silly. It was like so on the nose.
Well, and it's like it seems to be taking place like a day or two after the events of the movie. So there's just someone that's like stuck on the island, I guess.
Help me. I'm stuck on Isla Nublar.
Help me. I don't know. I mean, if it were just Alien Isolation with dinosaurs, I'd be super into it because Alien Isolation is very good and is a very fun concept to take like a movie franchise, especially since I don't think like Jurassic Park, like a horror game would be kind of cool. But I don't know.
I've never have played Alien Isolation. How long has that been out now? That's been on my like to playlist for years.
I feel like that came out like 2015 or something.
Yeah, at least.
That was like early PS4 era. I think that got a dual release on Xbox and PS3, Xbox 360, PS3
Alien
maybe.
Isolation 2014. I was going to say, this is a long time ago.
Oh yeah, it did 360 and PS3 release as well.
You can get it on Google Play? What? You can just play it on your phone?
What
the heck?
Get it for $11.
That's interesting.
Well, there you go. That's probably the ideal way to play it.
Yeah, play it on my phone. Play it on my phone.
It is a scary game. It's also, oh yeah, they just released it for Switch not too long ago too. Yeah, I don't know. Good game though. Highly recommend it.
How long is it? How long to beat?
I feel like it took me a while.
How long to beat is it?
How long to beat is
18 and a half hours?
Yeah, it is.
Seriously?
It is pretty long.
Why is it so long?
I feel like it's long because it's hard. I feel like that's part of it. Especially at first. It takes a while to get used to it.
My goodness.
But yeah,
18
it is pretty long.
18 hours, 46 minutes. Average. 18 hour, 20 minute median. That is... like for a game that's just, I feel like is such a simple concept.
It has a lot of variety to it.
Okay.
I'd recommend it. It probably is a little too long, but it's not like overly long. I'd say maybe just like an hour or two too long. But
most people rated it 8 out of 10.
Yeah, pretty good.
There we go. All right, sweet.
But yeah, and then the last thing I just wanted to bring up quick is because you've been talking, or you mentioned it like last week or something. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is getting a remake. So
there we go.
Yeah, that's the developers of It Takes Two and A Way Out.
Yeah, Hazelight.
Yeah, one of their co-op games. And this one I think it's the one that it's all played on one controller or something. It's like 2 players but on one controller or something like that.
That sounds awful.
I don't know. It's something
What
like
do you
that.
what?
I don't
That
know.
doesn't make any sense. How does that work?
I don't know.
Is it 2-player or is it you are playing and you have to control both at once?
I think it's 2-player. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I've heard it's sad.
Yeah, probably.
One of them probably dies.
Yeah, probably the little brother dies or
One
something.
of them probably dies. The other brother has to like drag their body through the mud while it's raining. And then there's a T-Rex because it's nighttime and it's raining and it's Jurassic Park survival.
roar. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's it for everything.
Everything Bergeron.
Yeah, Bergeron.
It's just a Bergeron kind of day.
It's a Bergeron kind of day.
Well,
at least for news.
Well, what about Popeyes though, Holden? Because it's time for our weekly segment, TOMPeyes, which is our review of Popeyes that we have before we go to the movie. A little curveball for us this week is that we went to the other Popeyes location.
Yeah,
in Sioux Falls,
there's
South
2 in Sioux
Dakota.
Falls. We went to the other one we don't usually go to.
And we went to the other theater we don't usually go to because that's the only place the Boy and the Heron was playing at.
Yeah, and so we typically go to movies on Thursdays. And if we wanted to go on Thursday and see the English dub for this movie, it was only showing at 5. So we didn't want to eat, a 4:00 meal. That wouldn't make sense. So we went and saw the movie.
I do that all the time.
Do you actually?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I couldn't do it. I guess I usually have lunch at like 2. But anyway, we went to the movie at 5 and then we went to Popeyes afterwards. So we went for a little late night Popeyes. And it was pretty good. I don't really
very uneventful.
Yeah, I don't really, aside from it being like a different time and different location, not really any complaints. The tenders were very solid.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get as many fries as you. I was a little upset about that, but
yeah, Emily joined us.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me her biscuit.
Nice.
She gave me some ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should bring her more often.
Yeah.
But yeah,
more
very
biscuits and
uneventful Popeyes. Brokaw for Popeyes for just being good.
I did
being bussin', as they say.
I did really like how greasy my biscuit was.
Oh my gosh. The
I don't know if it's usually that bad, but I just like noticed it this week.
They put it just straight up on the tray this time. Like
that's true.
They put it on the tray and they have the little paper advertisements that go on the trays. And mine was the same way. I mean, it is just a grease silhouette of the biscuit. Like that thing could have greased through the paper. It was incredible, but boy, was it tasty.
It was a very tasty biscuit.
Nice and doughy, not overcooked.
Not soapy at all.
Not soapy at all. Brokaw for Popeyes
this week. Good job.
And with that, Holden, let's do our non-spoiler review of The Boy and the Heron. If you have seen it, check out this part for kind of our overall thoughts, and then we'll go into our spoiler review. We'll warn you before we do that. So stick around. This is our non-spoiler review of The Boy and the Heron.
All right. Non-spoilers for The Boy and the Heron, Jimmy.
I got the
Pull up your
synopsis right here. Mahito, a young 12-year-old boy, struggles to settle in a new town after his mother's death. However, when a talking heron informs Mahito that his mother is still alive, he enters an abandoned tower in search of her, which takes him to another world.
Yes.
This is also based on a book.
Yes, a book called How Do You Live? Which does come into play in the movie. And that was the original name of the movie as well. It might be the Japanese name even. But yeah, it's
but not in America.
No, changed it to The Boy and the Heron because I guess it's a bit more literal. But it's directed by Hayao Miyazaki, which, very accomplished animator at Studio Ghibli, having done Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, which we have reviewed on the podcast before, a bunch of movies, a bunch of great films. And this is his last movie, apparently, even though it's probably not his last movie. We saw this. We mentioned earlier, we saw the English dub for this too, because I wanted to hear like the Robert Pattinson as the Heron and stuff. I thought that'd be fun. And typically Ghibli dubs are very well done as well, and I thought it was done well here. The movie itself, though, I thought was very good. And I think the more I've sat on it, the more I've liked it, honestly. Initially I had some more reservations about it, but I think just thinking about it more, I've liked it. It's nowhere near my favorite of his. But I also don't think like any of his movies I would rate low at all. Like I think all of his movies are very good, very good to masterpieces, I would say. Like that's kind of the range of at least the movie. I think there's only one of his movies I haven't seen. So what about you, Jimmy? What'd you think of what you saw?
Yeah. So a little disclaimer here. We, like Holden said, we saw this at 5 o'clock, which Holden thought would make it easier for me to stay awake. And little does he know that, no, I like to power nap it when I get home. And I did not have time for a power nap before this. So this movie is very good from what I saw. I missed about 15% of this movie, kind of the end of the first act. And Holden will fill me in. But I saw enough of this movie to be like, oh, I really like this. It is very slow paced, especially at the beginning. But it is very imaginative, as you would expect a Hayao Miyazaki movie to be. It is, like you said, the more you sit and stew with it, I think the more I appreciate it. I think this would be a movie that would be even better upon multiple viewings.
Probably, yeah.
I don't necessarily have the desire to sit down and watch this movie again, personally. But I could see other people really, really diving in and analyzing the themes of this movie, especially like grief.
There's a lot to unpack with it.
And all the symbolism and different things. It's very fun. It's whimsical. There's a lot of levity and humor to it, but then there is a lot of the melancholy and just kind of sadness that comes along with it too. So I really liked it. It's a little slow to me. It's almost like a little art housey at times.
Sure.
And very abstract, like meandering, but not like not like in a way of like I don't know where I'm going meandering, more like an artistic meandering.
It does the thing, and I think this happens in a lot of his movies where it takes its time with like every single action that happens. Like it'll if someone's putting their shoes on, you'll see them put their shoes on the whole time or whatever.
Good.
Like
very good sounds. The Foley was very ASMR pleasing. Like, oh, I'm gonna like zip up my backpack and put on my pants, or I'm gonna walk across this hardwood floor.
A lot of the things that I think in other movies would be more implied aren't really left for that here. It's much more like you see almost everything, which I think is just like a trademark to the way he makes movies, and I think does add to kind of the, as you said, the kind of meandering but not in an uninteresting way, the pace of this movie and some of his others. So
yeah, this movie is visually hilarious. Like there's just some visuals that are funny. Like you wouldn't need any sound, you wouldn't need any like story or joke moments. Like if you just looked at it, it would be funny. And I think this movie has quite a bit with it. Particularly like this parakeet society that
parakeets
exists,
are very good.
That kind of steal the show in the second half of the movie. But even like these little old lady maids are in the beginning. Like there's a little gag where it's like all these old ladies are like just their backs are at like I guess it would be an acute angle. So what are they, like 45-degree angles their backs, and they're just hunched over falling. And then like there's like 8 of them, and like the first 6 are like so hunched over, and like the last 2 have like perfect posture. Just like little things like that where it's funny, or just the wrinkly, wart-filled faces of the old people in here.
Yeah, I mentioned afterwards, it's a lot of his movies, like he draws old people as just very wrinkly, very kind of round, warty, like it's
in a very endearing way, though.
It's I don't know exactly why that is, but I think it just adds to the humor and uniqueness of the character designs. But yeah, it's interesting. It combines a lot of tones from his different movies because it does have the humor and like whimsy of a lot of his more lighthearted movies, but it also has some like dark elements to it that I think are drawn from some of his darker movies. And it's meshed together, I think, pretty well. It kind of makes me unsure. Like a lot of his movies you could attribute to being like kids movies, or like kids could watch it, or like kids could watch it, but it's a little bit creepy. There's a couple of them that are just like straight up not kids movies at all. And this one I feel like is kind of more in that like middle category, I'd say. There is some like dark stuff to it, but it is filled with a lot of other stuff that I think kids would enjoy too.
Yeah.
But I think like one of the things we haven't really talked about at all is it's a gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's visually stunning, especially there's like some fire effects at the beginning of the film that are just like, wow, incredible.
I don't even know how that would be like drawn. It's pretty insane. And it's all like, from what I can tell, it's drawn by hand, frame by frame and everything. It's fantastic looking. I mean, one of my favorite things with all of his movies is just like the watercolor painting backgrounds. It's just so gorgeous, and it lends itself so well to the characters wandering around and everything.
The music is fantastic. Again, lots of piano. Is piano heavy in all the scores of his?
Yeah, and I think he has like the same composer on like everything too. Joe Hisaishi. I know he definitely did Howl's Moving Castle. I think he's done like it looks like he's done pretty much everything since the 80s for him. So yeah, very, very talented composer, very good music. English dub voice actors were very good. I thought great casting choices kind of all around in that regard. Robert Pattinson is very fun as the Heron.
Yeah, he is.
It doesn't sound anything like Robert Pattinson. You said, I mean, it's a very good Willem Dafoe impression, and it is, but it's not at the same time. Willem Dafoe is in it as well. Florence Pugh, Christian Bale comes back. A lot of kind of frequent collaborators in these English dubs.
Oh, I didn't realize it was Karen Fukuhara who was Lady Himi.
Yeah.
I did not realize that was her. From The Boys, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Hamill. Dave Bautista, which you recognized him like immediately.
Yeah, Dave Bautista was a standout that I didn't realize he was in this movie. Mark Hamill playing a mysterious grand uncle.
Yeah, doing kind of Joker voice, kind of not. Yeah, it's all great. All of those voices are great, and I'm sure in the Japanese version it's good as well. But what else is there to say non-spoiler?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you just go into his movies not knowing anything. I mean, clearly that's what he wanted. There was literally not even a trailer. In Japan. Did they have they had like a poster? Was that it?
Yeah, it was this poster was all they had here.
Yeah, which is, if you go to Wikipedia and The Boy and the Heron, it's just, you can see there's like a heron and there's like looks like a sliver of an eye within the beak. So it's like, what's that about?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a good poster, but yeah, no, I as you mentioned afterwards, like his movies, they focus a lot on like going kind of through the process of exploring worlds.
Yeah,
rather
it's like a world building movie more than a narrative.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a world, look at everything in the world. We're making up rules kind of as we go, but you don't really care because you're exploring this thing. And through this world, it's like through the exploration of the world, you're exploring the themes of the movie and the characters rather than like okay, here's the plot and we need to do the plot. I mean, there's a very like loose plot, but
the narrative is used to support the world building more than the other way around, which is how most movies do it. And if you've seen like Spirited Away and stuff, it's very similar to how that movie goes about things.
Very similar. Which I think it helped for me to see Spirited Away before this and being like, what?
You just kind of have to like be with like
I'm like, I've never seen
happening.
anything like this, like in terms of structure and storytelling. And so having seen Spirited Away, I can be like, I'm just going to expect something similar to that and just enjoy it for what it is. And I did.
In a lot of ways, it is probably his most similar movie to Spirited Away. It has a very similar, I guess, like conceit of just like a boy has something bad happen to him and then he finds himself in this world he doesn't know anything about.
Yeah.
He's kind of lost and everything. But there's more to it than just that simple concept.
No big fat babies though. In this
No
one.
big fat babies. No parents turning into pigs.
No, but lots of old people with big noses and warts though.
Yes.
That carries over. And good looking food.
Oh yes, yeah. The Ghibli food is always good.
I don't think there's that much left to say non-spoiler wise. Like, it's a very good movie. Who is it for? Well, if you like Studio Ghibli, you're gonna like this. If you have never seen any Studio Ghibli movie, would you say this is like a good entrance point? So I watched Howl's Moving Castle first, which we did during COVID on the podcast, and I really enjoyed that. And then I watched Spirited Away next. I was not prepared for Spirited Away, even after seeing Howl's Moving Castle. So I don't know. I feel like this is. Do you think this is more accessible or less accessible than Spirited Away, which is a movie that people just is a beloved movie too? So maybe it's just a me thing.
This one I feel like it hammers into a lot of it in a lot of ways. It's like the most Miyazaki movie you can get. So I would say maybe start with something else. Like Howl's Moving Castle probably isn't too bad, especially since that has some weird stuff in it. If you wanted to start with something a little less weird, you could go with like Kiki's Delivery Service, or even I would like Castle in the Sky or something like that. But yeah, Howl's Moving Castle is a pretty good entry point. I mean, Spirited Away is how a lot of people discovered him, so evidently that worked for a lot of people.
If you're gonna watch one, I would just say that it's gonna be very whimsical and just go in with like zero expectations. Just like, this is gonna be weird. It's gonna be I'm gonna see things that I've never seen before, and it's gonna kind of just go all over the place. And if you go in with that mindset, I think you're gonna enjoy it. So I think you could go to this, but just go in with that the expectation of no expectations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like don't be expecting like a typical Western story plot structure, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. If I were to give this a score, I'd probably be at like eight and a half. I think 8.5. Go with that.
Nice.
It's very good. Not my favorite of his, but it's still very good because he's just an incredibly talented, I think, writer and animator. So yeah.
Do you think this is going to win Best Animated Feature?
I mean, it has a good shot. It would be like
Across the Spider-Verse. That would be tough.
I am trying to think of like what else there would even be.
The migration.
Migration. I bet Elemental will get nominated. It's not gonna win.
It's got to be between this and Across the Spider-Verse.
I think so,
right?
unless we're missing something big. Yeah, that seems right to me. At least in terms of animated stuff I've seen all year, these are probably my two favorite. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, let's dive into our spoiler review then. If you have not seen this movie, use the time codes down in the description to jump to our final segment of the show. Otherwise, stick around. Spoilers coming at you right after this.
Okay, spoilers for The Boy and the Heron. Jimmy.
I'm the great granduncle.
Great granduncle.
Build me a tower, boy.
So the movie starts out, and that's kind of the whole sequence with the fire and everything, where he's what's his name? Mahito is in Tokyo during World War II.
Nothing like post-war Tokyo the last couple weeks with Godzilla -1 and now The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah. So, I mean, war is a big theme in like so many of his movies. It's not as much at the forefront here, but I feel like it ties into some of the other themes that kind of come into play towards the end of the movie. But you still get a war sequence at the beginning that is horrific for our main character and is just so disorienting, and you just get such a sense of how terrible of a experience that would be. Running through Tokyo, it's burning, and then he ends up his mom burns in a hospital. Yeah. So yeah, very sad. But then there's kind of a bit of a time jump. Where Mahito ends up moving in with his soon-to-be stepmom which is his mother's sister. Yeah, his aunt.
Which when did they reveal that? Because I didn't like.
That was like. Well, wait. It was. Did they say it at the beginning? They said something that indicated to me that was the case. I can't remember exactly what it was.
I just missed it.
Oh, okay.
I was probably just paying too much attention to like, wow, this animation looks great.
They did say when they first met up, the dad, or he said something, or thought something, or there was something that was said that like she looked just like his mom, and then there was something later on. I can't remember. It was indicated early on though. But they end up moving in with her at her estate where there's a bunch of old lady maids. Nice estate.
Why does she have such a nice estate?
I don't know. I don't know if that's, I don't think it is explained. They're just kind of well off, you know, got this really nice family estate where these old lady maids that are very funny are there.
Want their cigarettes.
Yeah. I think there's like 7 of them or something.
Yeah.
I counted them. I was like, oh, the 7 dwarves or something.
There you go. Yeah.
But they're just kind of funny old ladies. They want the cigarettes. There's the one lady that's kind of the more prominent that ends up traveling with Mahito to the other world eventually. But the movie is kind of a slow start because it's him getting used to this area, kind of being closed off to his new stepmom and his dad and just kind of everyone around him, but fixating on like this heron.
Yeah.
That's flying around and ends
this
up.
This heron is messing with him.
Yeah, the heron's messing with it.
He's just like, he's effing with him. I mean, he's like, what's going on here? Why are you tapping on my window?
Yeah. And
what's
then he hears
deal?
the heron talk, but the heron doesn't start talking until after he gets a head injury. And so I think, you know, while he thinks it's weird, he's kind of thinking, that could just be, you know, a little loopiness or whatever. Mm-hmm. But regardless, he's trying to get the heron. He's chasing it down. He fashions a bow and arrow and everything. Yeah. He finds this tower.
Okay, hold on. This is where you're gonna need to fill me in. Okay. So he like goes to his first day of school.
Sure.
I did not see any of that, and I did not see him. He gives himself the injury. I did not see him have the injury. Like it was the part where I was just out was like when he's at school and he comes back and he's like they're bandaging him up.
That's the part you missed. That's not very long.
Well, no, I missed that, and then I missed a little bit
okay.
when they're in the boat lady, which I guess I didn't realize was the younger version of the
one old lady.
I did not catch that at all because I was out. Like
I was going to say they say that
a lot of that. Missed a lot. So does she interact with her younger self then?
No.
Is she just turns into her?
Yeah, I think that's like the implication for his like journey.
And then he has the little action figure of her, and then I don't know.
Yeah, but okay. So at the school, he goes to the school.
I missed that clearly. That's what I was, and then I was back for the rest of it. Like when they say goodbye, and he leaves. I remember everything from the movie. Like all the little white bubbly people jumping around, they're like sailing away. I remember everything after that.
Okay. So the school there wasn't a ton, but yeah, he goes to school and he interacts with like these bully like characters that don't like him for whatever reason, just because he's new, I guess. And then he gives himself the injury. He like bashes himself in the head with the rock.
Why does he just like?
It's like unclear. I was like trying to read into exactly why he does it. I wonder if it's just like because he's like so closed off. It's him trying to like show or feel anything because his character is very like guarded in this movie. He doesn't have a ton of personality, but I think that is just due to the grief and everything, and that seems to be the kind of choice there. But yeah, he bashes himself in the head with the rock, and it looks like it hurts very bad.
Yes.
He bleeds a lot from it too. I was like, oh my gosh.
But now he's got cool hair.
Yeah, it does.
For the rest of the movie.
Cool scar. But yeah, then he fashions his little bow and arrow thing, chases down the heron, and
come join us. Come join us, or whatever they say.
Yeah,
the frogs
the
crawling
frogs
on
and
them,
the fish. Oh my gosh. He sees his stepmom wander off into the woods, and then later on the old ladies are like, oh, she's missing. So they go hunt her down, and they end up going to the tower, and that's the one old lady follows him.
Yeah, what's her name here? They're following Natsuko. Her name starts with a K. Kiriko. She's like, I don't think we should go in there. And he's like, I don't care.
I'm going.
I'm going in.
And he's like, he knows it's a trap. He thinks because the heron's like beckoning him in because he's like, your mother's alive or whatever. And so he's like, it's probably a trap or something, but I have to know, which is just a bad idea.
I do remember him saying that. It's probably a trap, but I have to go in and find out or whatever he said.
It was.
And make sure for myself or so whatever he says. One of my things was, what is the heron's motivation? And is he just like, I'm going to play tricks on this little boy? That was the part where I'm like, I don't know if I was just missed it. I was not sure what his deal was.
So you asked me that initially and I didn't know. I think what it is though is he was like sent by the old man probably, right?
To retrieve him.
And like brings in the boy.
I need the boy to make me a tower with his blocks.
And then he has the heron go on him with this like whole like spiritual journey thing to try to convince him to stay or whatever. But yeah, I think that was just the case because the heron was created by the great uncle and kind of controls everything.
I'm like, I think there's a guy in there. Yeah. You know, you just slowly see more of this nose and then just a full on face.
The kind of the way
that
it
is
goes
a very
back and
Miyazaki
forth.
thing to just, there's a guy inside this bird. And I think my favorite part is he just like swallows himself back in.
Yeah, because he's just like this little stout little guy when he's a man, but then he like transforms. He swallows himself and becomes this like
very sleek, graceful bird.
Yeah, it's this fun transformation that happens a few times throughout the movie, and I just think the heron character is a lot of fun. Robert Pattinson is very good, as I said before, and he's a trickster, but he's also like,
it's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, he is pretty pathetic. As soon as he gets the hole in his beak, he can't do much.
Yeah, well, I love how like Mahito fixes the hole. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, now that you fixed the hole, now I'm going to like leave you and whatever. He's like, well, you know what? Can you fix this for me? And then they like cuts to them and he's like shaving it down a little bit more. He's like, yeah, just like that. Yeah. And he like puts it back. All right, now that I got to leave.
It was very good. I liked that a lot. I didn't really understand the feather thing. The
feathers,
his
like,
weakness, but it just like follows
him.
I didn't really understand that part. I didn't think that was very well explained, but whatever.
Who cares?
It's
magic feather bows. He doesn't use the bow and arrow after that, right?
I don't think so.
After he gets the hole in his beak.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm trying to. I don't think there is another part. He finds his mother. Mother's made out of water.
Yeah. Well, goo.
Or goo of some sort.
Yeah, she just melts.
It just melts. But then, he ends up going into this world, transported kind of by the heron, and finds himself on an island where he's attacked by pelicans.
Yeah,
it is pretty scary. You missed the pelican attack?
Yeah, I did, I think.
Okay. Yeah, he's on this island. There's like this gate to this grave thing.
Oh, wait. Yeah, no, I do remember that kind of.
Okay.
I don't remember.
You were like in and out on it.
I was in and out here. I'm like, now that you say this, I'm like, yeah, there was a gate.
The pelicans attack him, and then Florence Pugh, as the young Kiriko, comes and rescues him. And yeah, that's when they end up going to her place.
In my defense, 2 hours and 4 minutes is a long animated movie.
It is pretty long, yeah.
It's a long animated movie, I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense with how long it took to develop.
Granted, I did fall asleep like 30 minutes into it.
Yeah. Not much of an excuse there.
It wasn't because I wasn't enjoying it. It was because I was just very tired.
Mm-hmm. I think so we talked about it non-spoilers, but when he gets transported initially to this like island world and everything, it does a really good job of just immediately being like, what the heck is this place? Like, what is happening? There's all these boats just like in the background in the distance. And like you're on this random island with this grave, and then there's all these pelicans and everything. It's like, it's kind of just like our world enough to be like, okay, I can kind of, gather some of these things, but it's still very uncanny and weird. And then it starts slowly introducing weirder and weirder things as you go. But yeah, then goes with Florence Pugh to her house where the cutest little things in existence, the Wara Wara, I believe they're called. These little white spirit little things exist, and they are so cute. I was dying in my seat.
I like how they jump and smile.
It's Miyazaki in a lot of his movies has like one or two creatures that are just like the cutest things in existence. Like, in one of the more famous ones is in Totoro. There's like these little dust mites that are like little black with just big eyes and everything. They're very, very cute. But yeah, that's kind of the equivalent in this movie, and they are very adorable. And yeah, this is kind of the point in the movie where it is most probably meandering, because it is just kind of them like hanging out at this place and kind of just vibing with like the world. They get the fish, and then the Wara Wara like eat the fish kind of thing. They have this they kill this giant fish. And that's when we kind of see more with we discover these like figurines of these old ladies and everything that are like charms, but are also kind of not. It's kind of vague as to what they actually are. And that's when we figure out that this is a younger Kiriko as well, which you missed.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, no, there was quite a bit to this part of the movie that was, as out of all the parts you could have missed, it's probably the best part to miss.
Yeah,
but it's still a good part of the movie. I enjoyed it. And then you get the Wara Wara. After eating, they kind of ascend, and they're like born into our world, which was confusing. But they're at least that's what they want you to think. It's like they're like these spirits that are like born into our world, I guess, like soul kind of way, I guess.
All right.
But then the pelicans come and they're attacking the Wara Wara, and then we have this fire lady who dispels the pelicans away that is out on a boat, which we later find out is Lady Himi. But that's when we encounter the Willem Dafoe pelican after it was like injured and it's like dying, and it's like, wow, we didn't really have much control. We were just told to do this and stuff. Like we're just animals. We didn't want to do this. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I missed Willem Dafoe completely.
Oh, okay.
So.
He was only in it for like 2 minutes. I was kind of surprised, but I mean, it was a good Willem Dafoe 2 minutes. So,
what am I doing in this pelican body?
I was kind of wondering if like the pelican was going to get healed, or if, he was going to voice more than one pelican or something, but no, he's just the one pelican that's like bleeding out on the floor. It is pretty gruesome. That's probably one of the more gruesome parts of the movie, is just this injured pelican slowly dying.
Yeah, I was completely out for that. I don't recall any of that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Good thing this will be on Max soon enough here in the United States.
Yeah. Can at least check out the Willem Dafoe part. Recheck that out. But after that, he decides to leave. He gets the help of the pelican. The pelican comes out and over and finds him and is like, "Hey, we can go find your mom now." And so they go, and then this is where they go to the house with the parakeets.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
Yep.
Which you were awake for this part. All right.
The parakeets were great.
They were great. The parakeets were very good. They were probably the best part of the movie. Very funny. Had a taste for meat.
Did you eat Natsuko? No, Natsuko pregnant. We no eat baby.
That's right. That was really good.
It's just like they were I don't know, what's the yo, those guys in the Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
are they
yeah.
flying monkeys? Or are they separate from the flying monkeys? Wizard of Oz.
It's
I
been
don't
a
know.
long time since I've
They
seen
just remind me of them, but like hilarious looking. And it's funny because like parakeets are these tiny little birds, but these are like Goliath.
Well, they're like
bouncer.
brightly colored. Their
got
beaks
like wide
look
so
eyes.
derpy.
Yeah, they do.
They look so derpy, and they look like so cuddly and friendly. And then they're like, "We're gonna kill you and eat you." And
they're the kind of threat comes more from their numbers than anything because they're pretty stupid too.
Oh, they're insanely dumb.
They're pretty easily outsmarted in this movie, but they are very big. There are a lot of them, and they eat meat, so it's kind of terrifying. I was really worried they were only going to be in that one scene.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, they're leaving the scene really quick. I hope this is not the only scene with the parakeets.
They were just throughout the rest of the story.
They were
parakeets galore,
main antagonists,
and Dave Bautista as the
parakeet
as
king,
the parakeet
parrot king.
Yeah, the king parakeet or whatever. He was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. He was very good. He was very funny. I think that's a perfect casting to have just as a villain.
He's like ultra intelligent and like well spoken, and everybody else is just a bumbling.
Yeah. And he's very ambitious and everything. He's just kind of a funny villain to throw in like the third act. But yeah, we're introduced then to Lady Himi, who turns out to be his mom.
Which makes sense since she has fire powers.
Yeah. And it also makes sense because there's a whole thing about how his mom like went there when she was like younger. The maids tell that to the dad when they're like searching for Himiko or Hisako or Mahito. I'm getting the names confused. When they're searching for Mahito, the maids tell the story of like the mom initially like getting lost there at some point. So I was also so I'm wondering if that's like just like the image the great granduncle has from her visit, and that's why she's like that age still or whatever. Just that's
maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Kind of, there's a lot of things that are unclear that you can just kind of interpret how you want in this. But she was a great addition, cool fire powers. But they go to the castle. They find the stepmom. He gets attacked by paper.
Yeah, cool looking scene.
Yeah, very cool.
And he should not have entered that room, apparently.
Yeah.
That was bad.
It was bad. It was against custom.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of that's the point where Mahito kind of finally lets his guard down a bit and calls the aunt mom and everything and tells her to come back, and kind of I think his arc is kind of recognizing that sure he has grief and his grief is important, but he also needs to I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but not be like selfish in some ways, right? Like he needs to, he has other people that are also hurting around him that, he needs to think of too as well. So kind of him letting his guard down in that way. But yeah, then he meets the Mark Hamill character.
Yeah.
The granduncle.
And
I think this is where kind of some of the more interesting, I guess, themes for the movie tie in, because I felt like this was
create a world without sorrow.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there were a few things you can take from it. I read the the uncle character as like Miyazaki himself in some ways, because like he has maybe this is, and this might be something you can only pick up on if you know the lore behind this man.
Okay.
I don't know. He has a son, Goro Miyazaki, who works at Ghibli and has some movies under his name that he's directed that are not nearly as successful. A couple of them are pretty well regarded, but there's like all this stuff you can read about how like Hayao Miyazaki is like kind of an absent father, very like lost in his work and everything, and kind of maybe expects too much from his son and stuff in some ways. Once again, you can kind of read up on that if you want, but I was kind of seeing that in like, the granduncle is Miyazaki, like maybe expecting one thing from this like descendant of his, and then maybe coming to terms with, that's not how it needs to necessarily go in some regards. Of course, that's not the only read. I think you can also just look at he's the granduncle wants someone that's free of like the thoughts of war and everything, kind of tainting him that's more innocent and childlike, and Mahito to take over his work. But Mahito's like, no, I've experienced hardship and stuff. I'm not free of all of that, even though you want me to be. So.
Yeah. Well, and he also just like, I would rather go back and live in my world with the hardship than create a new one.
That's just absent of all that. Yeah.
Maybe embracing like hardship as a necessary part of life.
Yeah. I think
the growth that comes with it. Yeah. I thought it was an interesting kind of thing. He's got that big rock above him.
Yeah. It was like revealed that the tower was like initially like a meteorite or something that crashed down. It has some unexplained powers, which I assume is what that rock is, but that's kind of what created the tower and
build a new world with like 13 very, very basic blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, the blocks I thought were it was a fun visual for showing like the delicate balance that one would need to create a world like this and everything, and how it's very easily could just topple at any moment and everything. And giving Mahito kind of the literal building blocks to create it in maybe a more stable way.
Except Parakeet King wants it to do it. He wants to make a better kingdom for his people, so he captures Himi, and he's using her as a bargaining chip.
Mm-hmm. Ends up, and then he follows them into the world and the area with the great uncle, and ends up trying to rebuild it, and it just collapses.
Yeah, he's like, no,
and just the world starts falling apart. And they have to escape, and all the parakeets escape.
Himi, come with me, but I can't because I got to go to when you were born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there you go.
I'm your mom.
Because I'm your mom. Bum, bum, bum.
But all the parakeets escape and they turn into normal parakeets.
Yep. And the pelicans made it too.
Mm-hmm. Pelicans made it. The heron made it.
Yeah. Does the heron turn back to the normal heron, or is he still like?
I think it turns back into a normal heron. I can't remember.
Well, is he the one that says, "Oh, who's the guy at the end?" I don't remember. He has the conversation. Mahito has the conversation with somebody of like, oh, how do you still remember this? You're going to forget this soon. Everybody forgets by now.
That's him.
That's the heron?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he has that whole conversation about forgetting everything. Everyone has forgotten stuff. And then by the end of the movie, I mean, he and his Mahito and his stepmom and dad all leave for Tokyo, I guess. So
yeah,
seemingly forgotten, but having grown as a family.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, was it all in his head, Holman? Because he hit himself with a rock.
Yeah, I was in it. I didn't think it was going to do that, but when he got hit with the rock, and then that's when the heron started talking, I was like, please don't let that be the case. I don't think it was, but there's a read you could probably take that's...
Well, if you ask a Dumbledore, does it make it any less real?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Just because it's happening in your head, Harry, doesn't mean it's any less real.
Forgot about that line. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's much else to go over.
Nope, I don't think so.
Good movie.
Very good. I enjoyed it. Funny parakeets.
Funny
parakeets. We know eat baby.
We know eat baby.
I'm trying to think if there was another just really funny part. Other than when the heron's explaining of how like his trickery and he's gonna leave him and he's like, wait a second, can you fix this? And it cuts back. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I did like the parakeets when like the king addresses them and they're just like, we love you.
Yeah. 3 cheers for our noble parakeet king or whatever they say.
Very good stuff.
Yeah, they were funny. Really enjoyed it. Anything else?
I don't think so, no.
All right, on to our last segment, which of course, Holden, is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right. This week, Jimmy, watched quite a bit. First off, last night, I went to the State Theater and saw The Abyss, the James Cameron film from 1989. kind of sci-fi, very underwater film. Really, really good. Really liked it a lot. Honestly, I would say for like 85% of this movie, I was like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Wow, I'll need to check it out. It's been on my watch list for a while.
Yeah, you absolutely should. Because like it's the insane like practical and I mean digital for the time effects they use. It's crazy. They like built these entire like underwater stations in abandoned nuclear reactors.
Wow.
They like you can like read about it, but like the kind of main underwater station where a lot of the movie takes place, they built like it. I don't know if they built it life size or whatever, but they found this like abandoned nuclear reactor that they filled with water and had this like built. And so they filmed so many of these scenes in like actual water and everything. Incredible looking for the time. And even now, like there are a lot of things that I was just astounded. I didn't know how they would have done. Looked very good. But yeah, very exciting movie. Goes a lot of different directions. The ending is the weakest part and does bring down the movie a bit for me. The version I saw was the 4K remaster it's the special edition. So it has the like 30 minutes of extra footage in it kind of throughout, and it adds more context to the ending that makes it better, but it's still kind of like, I feel like they were trying to shoehorn in like a message for like no reason. It kind of felt like it was coming out of almost nowhere in some ways.
Out of the blue.
Out of
ocean.
the blue. There you go. But yeah, a very good movie still overall. I want to rewatch it at some point. But because The Boy and the Heron came out, I watched The Wind Rises, which was Miyazaki's movie before this one. That was one of the two I hadn't seen yet. And it was very good. I described it to you at like earlier this week. It's his like most normal movie because it's like a biopic of like a real aviation engineer. It takes a lot of like liberties with his life story, but it is like mostly just set in our world with maybe some fantastical flying machines in there a bit, but for the most part, it's pretty normal. Really good. It made me tear up towards the end. Very good central romance in it. Yeah, honest. And it's one of those movies that if that had been his like final movie, I think that would have been like a perfect send off, but happy it's not because we got The Boy and the Heron. And I rewatched Kiki's Delivery Service, which is my favorite one. Watched it the night after Boy and the Heron. I had 3 nights in a row where I watched a Miyazaki movie. And Kiki's it holds up for me. Holds up. It's still my favorite. It's so it is probably like in terms of like I would say it probably has like the lowest stakes out of like any of his movies. It is very just like a chill movie. It does have a conflict and everything, but it's not like it's not really like life threatening or anything. It's just kind of this girl's like coming of age movie, but it's so cute. It's like I like teared up at the beginning because of like the nostalgia wave hitting me.
Wow.
I had it on VHS growing up as a kid, so that was like the Ghibli movie I grew up on. So take that into account. To maybe take my opinion with a hint of salt. Maybe it's not as good. I'm blinded by nostalgia. Other than that, though, I've been continuing watching the Venture Brothers. I've stopped. So I had started the new season of Fargo and I had been watching Monarch. I'm kind of behind a couple weeks on both of those because I think I'm just going to finish Venture Brothers and then like just kind of go hard on one of those shows. I feel like going in between all of them is very difficult. So I'll probably do Monarch next, honestly. But Venture Brothers is very good. And video game wise, I've just been playing Final Fantasy VII. I think I'm over the halfway point. It is very long. I didn't remember. I couldn't believe how long it was, especially for a PS1 game. But it also like that game had 3 discs like initially when it came out.
Oh, wow.
So
the PS1 used discs?
Yeah, PS1.
Oh.
You don't know that?
I never had a PS1. So.
Oh, I guess I'm just surprised you didn't know that at all. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII, very good. Has some great. I'm like I said earlier with the remake. I'm curious to see how that diverges, but I can see why it's a classic. It's a lot of fun. So, what about you, Jimmy?
Not much. Just been watching Fall of the House of Usher. That's pretty much it. I'm in the 5th or 6th episode right now. But yeah, I have been playing Beat Saber again for a workout, so that's been fun. They
Did they fix the?
we did not talk about the GTA 6 trailer.
Oh yeah.
Gee whiz.
We can
'Cause
talk about that next
I was
week.
gonna make a joke that there was a major, like they announced a major game announced like a 6th installment, and I was gonna make a joke that they dropped the 6th original soundtrack on Beat Saber. Obviously alluding to the GTA 6 trailer, the literal biggest news in the entertainment
And we just
week.
completely forgot about it. We can talk about it next week. At this point.
But yeah, so I've been playing. The new songs are very fun. There's one song that's called like it's like something about a sword, it's like a dream saber or something. It's kind of a fun song to play, but it is insane. It is just absolutely ridiculous in terms of like, it is just
Difficulty.
yeah, insane difficulty, and it's also longer than a typical Beat Saber song, and it does not let up. Most songs are like 2.5 minutes. This one's like 4 minutes, but like there are other songs that are longer, but this one just straight up does not let up at all. So you're like, my arms are on fire when I'm doing it. So, and I was just playing on the expert difficulty, not expert plus yet. There is a few of them I was able to do. There's only 4 on the new one, but I think 2 of them I was already on the expert plus, and one of them I passed the expert, which was it was the new Camellia song, which is the kind of the go-to difficult Beat Saber.
Okay.
People got that one on expert, but this one, the group is like Dragon Force or something. And it's
Dragon Force, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's insanely difficult.
That's the group that does Through the Fire and Flames, which is like the infamously hard Guitar Hero song that's like impossible.
Well, yeah. Well, let me see if I can find the name of it. It is just absolutely Power of the Saber Blade.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's anything like Through the Fire and Flames, that is insane. So that makes sense.
Just because it's like the others, the first 2 songs, I literally like just sight read them like almost perfectly on normal expert mode, and then you can do like faster power out, modifiers and whatnot to get a higher score. But holy smokes, yeah, no, I had to go through like the practice mode and slow it down. I haven't just straight up passed it on normal yet, but yeah, that's the new Beat Saber update. So that's been fun.
Sweet.
Otherwise, that's it, Holden, for me. And that's it for the show, right? What are we doing next week?
Next week is Wonka.
Wonka, wow. Oompa, loompa, doo-pa-dee-doo.
Yeah.
Do people like Wonka?
I think so. I think it's getting decent reviews.
Yeah. 68 Metacritic.
So, all right.
We'll see.
So we'll watch it. We'll be the judge. We'll be the judge, jury, and executioner of this film. So, if you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at tompodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon.
There we
I
go.
think that's it.
All right. Until next time, adios, pantalones.
Love you.